Hey, Raptors fans, and welcome to the Wrap Up Live. This is the official Raptors Republic live post-game show and podcast where we recap the latest Raptors game you just watched. I'm your host, Sahal Abdi. I am here with our co-host, Kian Haddad, and the podfather himself, Zarar Siddiqui, is here to join us, which is amazing to see. Guys, we just watched a Raptors win. We haven't said that very often this season, or that's how it feels like at least. Tonight, the Raptors defeated the Magic 123 to 113. That brings the Raptors record to 28 wins, 31 losses on the NBA season. And last but not least, if you love the Toronto Raptors, do us individuals at Raptors Republic a favor. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and our podcast wherever you're watching or listening. Zarar, since we don't get you here often, do you want to tee us off on our recap of the Orlando Magic here tonight?
Well, yeah. I mean, I was watching. I saw the whole game, and at one point in the second quarter, I think the Raptors were shooting 73%, and we're down, and we're up only 2 points. And then I was like, what? This math doesn't make any sense. And you paid it. Then I rewound, hit rewind on my TiVo. Do people still use TiVo? Is TiVo still a thing? I don't know.
Think so. We're past that.
You rewind, and I rewatched the last 6 or 7 possessions for both teams, and it was just like no defense being played. And I realized that the Raptors just are completely porous defensively. Like I feel like their limbs are not attached to their brains sometimes. Especially Scotty, like I found is the defensive lapses are too much, like cheating too much, reaching too much. It's a bit much. But with bad teams, and the Magic are a bad team worse than the Raptors. All you need to do is really to just buckle down for a 7 to 8 minute stretch to just create some distance. And as we know, bad teams do give up. Like bad teams cannot sustain a lot of pressure, and the Magic showed that how bad of a team they were. But forget about all that, man. Like, how amazing is it to watch just a balanced basketball court?
Oh, it only took 2 or 3 years, Zarar. It's great. It's fantastic. I asked Keon that just before we went live. Keon, what do you think about the game and this new look Raptors?
That was one of the most enjoyable games of the season. It felt like this team actually had continuity. It had a flow. It wasn't the same overused, dragged out ISO ball every single possession down the court. Fred had 15 assists himself. Jakob was scoring in all different types of ways. And it's only going to get better when we start to get more shooters back from injury. Hopefully, from after the All-Star break, we should be getting some of them back. But Yak played great. He 1 point shy of his career high. His career high is 31. It was a great game. Now we just got to keep this up because they've made it clear that we're here to win this season, and we got to keep this up. And I think they can. I think they definitely can.
Yeah, I think what puzzles me, Keon and Zarar, about this team the most is the fact that they have the personnel to play, consistent defense over not just a game, but over long stretches in the season. They have the guys. But when you watch this team, there's so many mental lapses. I've never seen a team get, absolutely obliterated by back cuts the way the Raptors do. Yeah. Possession in and possession out. I don't understand it. It's like transition. I mean, even sometimes with Yak on the floor, who, by the way, finished the game with, I believe, the highest plus minus. I'm going to pull up the box score in just a sec. Even with Jakob Poeltl on the floor, I just didn't feel like this Raptors team really, really locked in defensively consistently throughout this game. You saw it in really small increments in this game where they would string together 3 or 4 very good defensive possessions in a row. I really like the one. I wanted to point out one with Fred VanVleet where he ripped the ball out of Wendell Carter Jr.'s hands. And then he started to look at his hands like he had the hands of Thanos. And then they were talking about it on the broadcast for 2 or 3 minutes. I found that hilarious. But it does, this, you can take a lot of good out of this game. Of course, Jakob Poeltl, 15 for 17. That has to be his most efficient game, not just of as a Raptor. Even if you go back to when he was a Raptor in 2018, I think it was of his career. 15 for 17 is nothing to scoff at. Even for Pascal Siakam, who's had similar nights this season, he went 10 for 15. So he had a fantastic night as well. But I think most Raptors fans in this game are going to look back and go, Why did it take this team this long to acquire not just a center, but a capable center, right? Because they tried, right? Zara, we can't act like they didn't try. They tried with Aaron Baines. And I know
Is that trying?
well,
Is that really trying?
in
It
hindsight,
is.
it obviously looks like a horrible move, but I think in that moment, Raptors fans weren't necessarily angry with the move, if I remember correctly. He was coming off a very good year in Phoenix, right? There weren't massive expectations for him, but just other centers that they've tried on. People forget what was the guy's name they brought up from the 905. He wasn't even really a big Gillespie.
Fred
A
Gillespie.
few years back.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they've attempted and it just hasn't worked. And I think during the trade deadline, a lot of Raptors fans were taken aback by the what was given for Jakob Poeltl, the 2024 protected first.
What? People upset about the pick?
And now I think, yeah, and I tweeted that now fans have to take that back because I don't understand how you could look at this team now and say that Jakob Poeltl hasn't created that that balance that Keon talked about. It's been incredible to watch, and I think it's the Raptors look a lot more fun now that they look like they have.
And if you look at this game, and I know it's the Magic, so take what you will from that. But you look at if you had a heat chart, or in soccer they have like a heat chart where the players spend most of their time, and you had a heat chart of like where Jakob Poeltl spent most of his time, and it's going to be like in the top of the key area, presenting himself as an option to the ball handler, whether it be through a lob pass or a bounce pass, or even just popping out a little further. But what I'm trying to say is he's not at the 3-point line watching the game. He's an active participant in what's happening in the game and not sort of like waiting for the ball to get to him on the swing out or what have you. And
just a high IQ center, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's a center who plays like a center. Like, and I think as the failed experiment, I might even add, has told us is that we sort of need a center. And this is no disrespect to guys like Chris Boucher, who have sort of made a living at like parking out at the 3-point line and being a 3-point threat. Like that only works when you have something in the middle as well. So I think Poeltl's introduction will not only just make the Raptors better, but it'll also make guys like Chris Boucher better because they'll be more kind of slotted into their role better, I find. And maybe they can afford to sit at the 3-point line more and crash the offensive boards on occasion instead of trying to fill the void of rebounding every time. And also, I'd say, I mean, I think you talked about the scoring, but 6 blocks, man. And they were not like, and they weren't
monster
like
blocks.
Yeah, they were the defense was not anticipating. They were from behind, a couple in face-up situations. One of them was like a monster. Like I think he blocked a dunk or something. So, it's good to have a center.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. Keon, I wanted to ask you particularly about Jakob, how you felt like he's fit in so far with the Raptors, because they did interview him after the game. And he did talk about how, even prior to this interview, he talked about how his role is a little bit different. Alvin Williams kind of alluded to it on the broadcast, how he played a lot more of a playmaking role. And that's an aspect of his game we haven't even really got into that's been incredible. In the high post, Jakob Poeltl's catching it. Even in the low post on some of these roles, he knows exactly what to do. And Nick Nurse knows that, he can plant a guy in the dunker spot like Scotty Barnes or Precious Achiuwa there to finish. Gives him another option. But I think that's one aspect we haven't even talked about. He said on the Raptors, they've been putting him in a lot more pick and roll situations. What did you think so far about kind of how he's been operating in that pick and roll?
He was kind of playing like a connector, and it's good from him because he's so smart with the ball in his hand. Like today, he was getting the ball and he was just aggressive right away. Like he went straight to his move. Whether that would have been a post up, he was hitting that post up hook over a lot of the Magic smaller defenders. He was hitting that pass. He had one pass from the high post. He hit a cutting Siakam, and he got fouled. He's playing great, and it's really like unlocking everything. It's kind of that Marc Gasol-esque factor that you have on a team where he is so not to the extent of Gasol, but he's quite smart for
I feel like Gasol's IQ levels were just off the charts. Like Poeltl's a very smart center, but Marc Gasol used to do things where I was just like, wow, like this is really like the perfect center for that team in 2018 and 19. So or 2019 and 20, I should say. This is an article that I really wanted to point to before we move on, and Louis Zatzman published it today, February 14th on Valentine's Day, and it's titled "Jakob Poeltl has locked down the pick and roll for the Raptors." I read the entire thing as soon as I saw Louis tweet about it, and it's a very, very good piece. Louis goes into depth about Jakob Poeltl and what he does on these deep drops. And I think Nick Nurse trusts Jakob Poeltl a lot. Like we're seeing it where this guy's walking into a brand new team. Like we can act like the Raptors are the same team as they were 3-4 years ago. It's not the truth, right? Jakob Poeltl's walking in to a team with different players. The system's changed a little bit. It's a hyper switching defense. You rarely see drop defense now with the Raptors. And I think with Jakob, it's different because Nick Nurse understands, okay, this kid can play drop coverage at an elite level. And yes, I'm going to say elite level. I really do think he can. And I think he allows Fred and some of these other guards to do different things defensively. And yeah, I mean, Fred almost got his career high in assists, and a lot of that had to do with Jakob Poeltl on the offensive end as well, Gerard, right?
You know, I think it's laughable that the Raptors are like worried about Jakob Poeltl in drop coverage, like as if their defense is something special, and that introducing Poeltl in a drop coverage is the thing that's going to make them a bad defensive team. Like I found the whole argument to be so like void of any substance. Like they're a bad defensive team. Okay, drop coverage or not, they're a bad defensive team. So to worry about how Jakob Poeltl will fit in defensively, to me, is like it's such a stupid thing to even talk about because you are so bad defensively. So, and Poeltl is not a he's a big man. Big men like to drop. I mean, you can't ask a guy to like be athletic, defend the three, and defend the rim at the same time. So there's always going to be trade-offs with anybody you pick. So the trade-off here we're making is drop coverage for better rebounding and better rim protection. And last time I checked, the Raptors needed rim protection a hell of a lot more than whatever Poeltl doesn't do.
Yeah, definitely. And I think now they have that option where, like I said, I've mentioned this on previous shows where even before Poeltl, was traded to the Raptors, teams are now running into a 7-foot giant, right? In Jakob Poeltl, who's adept at blocking the ball. They're not running into 6'8", 6'9" Precious Achiuwa or 6'8", 6'9" Scotty Barnes anymore, right? No matter how high Scotty can jump or how high Precious can jump, it's a lot more difficult to do it over Jakob Poeltl, especially when he goes vertical, right? So I'm excited, guys, to a degree with this team and what I've seen today, but there's still so much more to work on. I know people in the live comments have already mentioned how this is the Orlando Magic. Yeah, Zara already said that. We know this is the Orlando Magic. We get it.
They're hot though.
They're hot. And so I gotta make one point on the defensive coverage. Like
for
the
sure,
people you mentioned, like Scotty and Siakam, like their defensive work at the rim is always from like recovery positions. Like they're trying to like reach and recover to get a shot block or contest the rim because they generally are further away from the basket. Poeltl is not that. Poeltl is closer to the rim, so his rim protection actually has a higher success rate because he's automatically in a better position just by the nature of where he happens to be on the court most of the time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the weak side rim protection is something we haven't even mentioned as well. That's been much, much better for the Raptors. I feel like the weak side just has been easy pickings for the Raptors. There was one play Markelle Fultz, I think, drove right and then finished left on the left side of the rim. Jakob Poeltl came all the way around and blocked it off the backboard. And then there was another block, I think, by Precious Achiuwa just moments later. But we're seeing positive returns from a trade that the Raptors made at the deadline, a trade that's been very long rumored. I mean, people have been talking about Jakob Poeltl returning to the Raptors for a year now almost, which has been incredible. But
the prodigal son returns.
Yeah, exactly. We've talked about Jakob quite a bit, and he deserves it. Just really quick again, 15 for 17 from the field in 37 minutes. He was a plus 18, the best on the court for both the Raptors and the Magic. 30 points, 9 rebounds, a couple assists, a steal, and 6 blocks in this game. There were some other Raptors who did have pretty great games in this one. And we will, I think, get into Gerard. Do you want to get into Pascal Siakam next? Because I feel like he deserves some credit as well for this game.
Hey man, you can. I mean, we talk about Pascal all the time. He's amazing and all that. But can we start with Malachi Flynn a little bit? Because I feel like the guy he's given us something something good, a little bit more speed at the point of attack than we are used to. And I think, it's important that, defenses get different looks from the Raptors. And having Fred at the point and Pascal kind of at the pseudo point has become a little stale and predictable. So when you inject even a little bit of speed through Malachi Flynn, although it comes at the expense of maybe some size, I think it makes a big difference. So his stint in that second quarter, while the Raptors were trading baskets with the Magic, I think it's positive and good on Malachi Flynn for coming back and finding a spot in the lineup, because the guy, he looked to be on the fringes of the NBA. So it's good to see him sort of kind of make a little bit of a comeback.
Yeah, for sure. Keon, what did you think about Malachi Flynn's game? For me, at least, before you answer, Keon, I'm just happy when Malachi Flynn looks like he belongs. He doesn't have to come out there and give me 12, 15 points off the bench or anything like that. I'm just happy when he's making confident decisions, and it just looks like there isn't a massive drop-off. I think when he first entered the game, you saw a little bit of a difference in the way the Magic were approaching the Raptors, just because they were blitzing Fred for the first 12 minutes. Yes, 12 minutes Fred played to start the game, played the entire first quarter. Nick Nurse tried his best to get Malachi Flynn in there with 2 minutes left, but there was no calls where he could get him in. The Magic were blitzing Fred VanVleet nonstop, and I just feel like it wasn't working with Malachi Flynn in the game. They had to kind of switch it up and go, okay, well, things are opening up because Fred's being blitzed, right? Especially on the pick and rolls, on the high screen and rolls. Now Malachi's in the game. We got to switch it up a little more. That's when I think you saw Pascal Siakam kind of revert back to the isolation game. He was hitting those mid-range jumpers he's so accustomed to. But I think Malachi in the second half for me is where he showed his true colors in this game. It's the Malachi you want to see as a Raptors fan, Keon, right?
Absolutely, and I totally agree with you. We've had a struggle at backup point guard for quite a bit, and any game where he can come in and just keep the pace of play up and keep the Raptors' intensity up, I think are good minutes that you can get from him. When he comes in, I don't expect exactly like you said, the 12, 15 points. If he can go and get 5 points, 3 assists, and look like he belongs on an NBA court, I will be happy, because that's just what you need from a backup point guard, for us at least at this point. Because like in the past, he hasn't shown that. He's played a couple minutes and looked like he should be in the G League, and lately he's been playing pretty solid for you, and that's what you're going to need if you want to win in the NBA. You have to give your starters rest, and we've seen like from Pascal earlier a couple weeks ago where he looks gassed in the fourth quarter. Now that's changed a little bit, but he looked gassed, and you need to get these guys some time on the bench, and any minutes you can buy with Malachi Flynn, with Jeff Doughton today as well, who played pretty dang good on defense. He didn't score. I don't remember him scoring. No, he didn't. 0 points in 9 minutes. But he didn't. He looked like he belonged out there. Like he looked like he could match up against Suggs, who had a huge first half, and I don't remember him scoring much in the second half after, when they started inserting Doughton on him. So as long as you can get some real key NBA minutes from these backup guys, then I'm going to be happy, and that's any Raptors fan should be content with that.
And isn't it great that we're done talking about the tank and we're actually talking about winning games and trying to like just compete and like have fun and like cheering on Jakob Poeltl and like just winning games, right? Like I'm looking at the NBA standings right now, and I like we're in the play-in right now, and like I know like we're probably gonna get bounced in the playoffs, but man, I'd still rather have a couple of play-in games and try to make it to the postseason and be in the playoffs and have some fun. Because why are we watching this game if it's not for like moments like these where we enjoy winning, right? Like I don't get the tank mentality at all, and I'm so glad that's over. Like it'd be one thing if we were like 27th, 28th in the league bad, but we're not. We're like 20th, 21st in the league bad, and we can probably improve because our schedule to close off the season is actually, it's one of the easiest schedules in the league.
For sure, yeah.
At least that's what I think Oren said at the live event. I haven't checked it myself, but he did mention this, so I'm going to trust him on this one. He did mention this. So with Jakob in there, with a soft schedule, like, is it crazy to suggest that the Raptors can make up like, like what is it? They're right now, the 5, they're what? They got to make up like a game and a half for the 8th spot, and 3.5 games for the 7th spot. Is that really unthinkable? I don't think so.
No,
Yeah,
especially with the Nets, they're going down. That's an extra
yeah,
spot in the East.
exactly.
I don't think they're going to stay up there for much longer. So,
Yeah, no, I'm
Do you have
with you,
something
and I
to
think
Ending up, buddy. Where's the graph? Where's the stock memes? Let's go.
last thing, really quick on Malachi Flynn. Really, last thing on him. I think it's important that he has a game like this simply because the backcourt is very thin in terms of depth for this team. You look at the front court, you had a guy like Jakob Poeltl. He's a starter now. Like, it's guaranteed the guy's starting probably for the rest of the year, and you're going to try and kind of build around the other core guys on the team. Maybe Gary comes off the bench when he's healthy and OG's healthy. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but it looks like Jakob makes this team so much more balanced. And I think from Malachi Flynn's perspective, there's very little backcourt depth on the Raptors. This is why Delano Banton was given a chance in this game. He played 4 minutes. Nick Nurse quickly gave up on him. It just, again, from Delano Banton, this is what I'm talking about. From Delano Banton, it just looked like he didn't belong on the court, right? Like, we've seen a lot of mistakes he's been making, in the last 3-4 games. It just looks like when he comes in the game, he's either not prepared or he just doesn't have the confidence to really do what Nick Nurse trusts him to do. And I think with Malachi Flynn, it's a little bit different. Jeff Doughton, we haven't seen him.
He missed 2
God
threes.
knows how long.
You got to make your threes.
Right?
You get open threes coming from the G League or D League, G League, sorry. And they're wide open. You got to make them. You cannot make them, exactly. You cannot be bombing your open threes. And Doughton kind of did that.
I'll give Doughton a tiny bit of leeway just because he literally plays once every 30 games. I'll give him a little bit of leeway. With Malachi Flynn and Delano, you just expect some sort of consistency off the bench. And hopefully this is the beginning of that for Malachi Flynn. To get back to what we were talking about right after that, Oren quickly joined us in the live chat. I'm just going up and reading some of his comments about rim running big who blocks shots. Yes, Oren, we do have that now in Jakob Poeltl, which is great to see. I think for the rest of the team, though, we're seeing a difference, Zarar and Keon, in how fatigue, I think, doesn't make as much of a difference for the Raptors. You don't have Scotty Barnes guarding these 7-foot giants and Precious guarding these 7-foot giants. And I think we may see later in the season how some of that might, demonstrate itself in how Scotty Barnes and Precious play offensively late in games. I think you won't see a very tired Scotty Barnes. You won't see a very tired Precious Achiuwa late in games. And for me, that's a huge thing because you have 8 guys on this team that you could probably hang your hat on. The 5 who started, right? And then Thad Young, who Nick Nurse just always goes back to, who did suffer an unfortunate injury in this game. Chris Boucher has just become a stalwart off the bench. And then it looks like Malachi Flynn's going to get a shot for the rest of the season as long as he just doesn't, blow things up himself. I'm excited. I'm happy. There's a lot of things this team can do much better. Like you said, Zarar, the schedule does seem very pillowy soft to end the year for the Raptors. It does look like they are going to make a run into that play-in playoff picture. If not the 8th seed, they're not very far from that. I don't want to go too far ahead because I know what these Raptors have done to me when I've gone too far ahead, Zarar and Keon. But what did you guys see in this game from other players that maybe you wanted to point out? I know I mentioned Pascal Siakam earlier, but he's just, he's a superstar. He's representing the Raptors in Utah this coming weekend. So as an all-star.
Well, let's hang off on the superstar labels.
Oh, you're not there yet?
Listen, man, like I love Pascal, but I think that word is thrown around a little too much. Star, fine, I'll buy it. But when you throw in the word soup, there's like 4 superstars in this league, right? There's
I guess it depends on the criteria you're using. Yeah.
Well, so let's I'm gonna give you an opportunity to take that superstar comment back a little bit. Easy there. But going back to your point about like I won't talk about Siakam, but I think he's been amazing all year, and he's going to continue to get better, and Poeltl will just make him better. But I do. You mentioned like Banton earlier. I fail to see one above average skill that he brings, or that I can see this is the one above average skill that this player will develop. I don't see that with him yet. Because early on, I think it was about maybe he can be like a point forward type guy. I don't think that's really true. His passing isn't really that great. His shooting obviously is poor. And I saw a bit of him at the 905, last week. Did not look amazing there. And you're supposed to go down there and kind of dominate, like if you wanna make it to the big club. So there's question marks definitely on him. But the other guy that I'll pick of all the people that you mentioned, it's sort of Scotty Barnes, man, because I do think he needs a talking to about his defensive work from the coach. Rookies or younger guys usually are the ones that are kind of like setting the effort example, because they want to get minutes and they play hard, they put it all out there. There's just too many defensive lapses from Barnes, and yeah, you'll get away with it against the Magic. But I think if there's if there's a couple of things that we need to clean up towards the tail end of the season and make the most of that soft schedule, it has to be tightening up defensively. Barnes is guilty. Achua is guilty on that one. Gary Trent, same. Basically, if you watch this game, go watch the first quarter and the second quarter, the first half of this game, and you will see the Raptors at their worst defensively. That's what we have to avoid, because playing like that, we're not going to take advantage of that soft schedule that's coming up. We're just going to end up like 500 or something like that, and we got to be like at least 7-8 games over 500 in that stretch at the minimum, and it's got to start with better defensive cleanups.
Yeah, and I think Nick Nurse definitely chewed into the team at halftime. You could see it at the top of the screen where we're sharing on our right. In the second quarter, Orlando scored 43 points. Like that's really bad. And I know this is an Orlando Magic team that's won 4 straight games away from home, right? 4 straight road wins for Orlando. Like they're coming in hot, right? But I think for the Raptors, I mean, you look at the total record. You judge teams by their win-loss record at the end of the day, right? And we are almost 60 games in so far this season. And Orlando's 24-35, right? To allow one of the more mediocre NBA teams to put 43 on you in one quarter is insane to me. They came out, which was really good in the second half. In the third quarter, particularly, only allowing 19 points from the Orlando Magic, which was really good, right? You win that quarter by 10 points. And I think that's how the Raptors have to start kind of looking at each and every game. You just separate it into quarters, and you just got to win each quarter.
And the 19-point Raptors, Sahal, are the real Raptors. Like they're not a bad enough team to give up 43 points. Like this is an anomaly, but it happens a little too frequently for the Raptors. And I think my point was that this is exactly the type of stuff that we need to clean up. And I honestly think we need a little bit of Dwayne Casey pound the rock type attitude coming back a little
bring
bit.
The rock
harder,
back, bring the rock back into Scotiabank Arena. We need a couple hammers. We need the guys to just go to town on that rock.
Just not the other stuff, but just like the drilling the guys' effort. Because the one thing under Casey was that the team always gave a strong effort, and we got to get back to that.
Yeah, I mean, the
second
Raptors
quarter didn't even look like they're effort. They're not.
Yeah,
we're scoring buckets, and then Markelle Fultz is just going straight to the hoop, like right off the bucket. Like, how do you not get back?
Yeah, it didn't make much sense, to be quite honest. And I was gonna say, historically, the Raptors have been a pretty good defensive team. I think if you look at their last decade of play in the NBA, pretty damn good, to the point where I think the last few seasons that the Raptors have had pretty good years, dating back to last season and before that one. The biggest, I think if you take away the championship year, the biggest thing that most people complained about was the creativity of the offense, I think. Defense was never really an issue, especially in that championship year, the year before that. The effort was there. The personnel was there, right? The talent was there defensively. And like I said, I started off this show by saying it's very strange to me that you could have guys like Precious Achiuwa, right? OG's not obviously in this game, but Fred VanVleet, Gary, when he's on, and yes, I'm putting an exclaimer there, Gary, when he's fully there, mentally, he's a very good defender. Pascal Siakam, I think, is a pretty good defender as well. And then now you have Jakob Poeltl, and you have a couple guys off the bench as well who should be able to, be productive defensively. I don't know if it's just a mental lapse thing with this team. I don't know if it's maybe guys aren't understanding Nick Nurse. Maybe his message is getting a bit dry to the team. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but I think this Raptors team won't stand a chance not only in the playoffs, because I'm not even looking there yet. I think in this run that they make to the playoffs, they will not stand a chance if they play defense like they did in the first half. Not even just the second quarter. I think just the first half. You allow 60 points in the first half. That's a bad look, even in the new NBA, right? That's a really, really bad look. But best shooting night from the Raptors offensively. You guys see it on the screen, 60.2% from the field, 50 for 83. Usually the Raptors are the ones shooting a bunch more field goal attempts than the opposing team. In this game, Orlando had one more field goal attempt. The Raptors got to the free throw line a bunch. There wasn't much complaints. They were plus 11 versus Orlando in the rebounding category, plus 5 in the assist category. That's something we haven't really mentioned, guys, really quick, is the assists. This team averages just over 23 assists per game this season. Right, that's I think 28th in the league last time I checked earlier this week. Could be 27th now, but this team has not moved the ball around like they probably should. This game we saw something a lot different. Zorar, do you think this is kind of the beginning of something, maybe a new look Raptors offense that we're seeing?
Well, there's definitely going to be newer looks, no doubt about that. But just because our style of play will change, and it already has in the time since Poeltl has come in. You've noticed me complain at the show that I wrote an article about this too, that we are like 24th in the league in running the pick and roll, which is supposed to be the bread and butter play of the league. I think our usage will skyrocket of the pick and roll. I think we're going to go from, if we're like 23rd right now, we're going to be in top half of the league for sure going forward. And I think that simple change alone is going to be instrumental in how our offense is shaped. So yeah. Question for Zorar. When healthy, what is your preferred starting lineup? Okay, so
we're putting you on the spot.
I know, eh? Okay, so I think OG needs to come off the bench.
Okay.
Ooh. Yeah. Wow. I think he needs to come off the bench because apparently he's thirsty for the ball, and the bench is a perfect place to get it. Last I checked, our bench does not have a great amount of offense on it. So it sort of makes sense that we shift him over there. I mean, you could have maybe put Gary on there too, but I feel like OG can thrive more with a bench unit than Gary can. So to answer the starting lineup question, I'd say backcourt, Van Vliet, Gary. At the 3, Siakam, Poeltl. So 5 and 4. Which leaves the 3, and I wouldn't be so quick to put
here we go.
Precious Achiuwa in there already at the 3.
Okay, so you got Scotty,
huh?
You've got Scotty.
Yeah, so I mean, it's between Scotty and Precious, and I honestly don't know the answer to that. If you had to put a kind of gun to my head, I would say put Precious in there. And see how that works. Yeah, bring Scotty and OG off the bench as an experiment and see what happens, because we haven't really tried that at all. We have not really tried it, and I don't know. I think that's the next thing to sort of tinker with. People are saying no way, but hey, why no way? We're in the 10th spot in the Eastern Conference. No idea is a bad idea here, guys.
I'll say this: the popular answer is Gary off the bench, and I don't know how much I like that. Like you said earlier, I don't know if he can really propel a bench lineup like OG could or like Scotty could. I would maybe think about Scotty off the bench too, and keeping OG just because he can be your creator off the bench and he can create for others. But
the thing with that's
interesting. Both of them off the bench.
Okay, so Keon, when you say Scotty off the bench, I think we discussed that really early in the season as well, when Scotty was struggling a bit, not just defensively, but offensively as well. Theoretically, you have that playmaking source off the bench, right, with Scotty. But the thing is, do you have enough shot creation off the bench with just Scotty there? That's why, for me, I have
Malachi Flynn. You
got Malachi Flynn, baby.
I mean, hey,
what do you?
You're putting me in a tough position, Zorar. Now you're going to make me criticize Malachi.
No, seriously. Why not give Malachi Flynn a chance at the point guard? He's supposed to be a point guard. And we keep like it's like we're shielding a newborn, like helicopter parenting Malachi Flynn all this time. Oh, Malachi Flynn can't really do that. Like he needs like support. No, man, he's an NBA point guard. Like he's a trial by fire. Get him out there, let him run the offense for an extended period of time, and see what happens. Like, why do we always have to helicopter parent Malachi Flynn all the time?
I want to answer that truthfully, but I'm not. I'm just gonna say we do that because I think he just hasn't shown enough consistently as a Toronto Raptor just yet off the bench. But you're right. This is maybe the perfect opportunity for them to do that. And this goes back to what I was saying about having a very thin backcourt behind Fred VanVleet. Now you have guys like Jeff Dowtin, Delano Banton to an extent, and Malachi Flynn, where you have to throw them out there. There's no other option out there, right? It doesn't look like Masai Ujiri or Bobby Webster's thinking about signing anyone. So,
okay. So Hal, I think people have had a real problem with not necessarily, they got a problem, not with OG coming off the bench, but they got a real problem,
thing, right? Yeah.
With Scotty coming off the bench.
Yeah.
Which to me is sort of surprising because I would think it would be the other way around. But hey, man, I think, like, why are people so like? Did you guys see Scotty today in the first half? You think that's starting quality defense? Anybody who's criticizing that? I don't think so.
Yeah,
what kind of team is this? You blow off 8 defensive coverages and you still keep your spot in the starting lineup? Come on, man.
It's difficult. I think there's so many things to weigh with this Raptors team because you think about developmental reps and how to get like if you know Scotty and Pascal are your core guys, how to get those two guys on the court with each other the most you can, give them the most reps possible, those two specifically, and possibly Fred as well. Like people won't give Fred VanVleet credit. I mean, there's a good portion of the Raptors fan base, at least on Raptors Twitter, who failed to give Fred VanVleet credit for his last month and a half, almost 2 months of play for the Raptors. Like he's been playing incredibly well. And I think with Jakob Poeltl now joining, you're seeing a Fred VanVleet who finally has an option as a roller, something that he hasn't had for 2+ seasons now. And it's difficult because in any other situation, you would go, how are you going to put a point guard out there, expect him to play like a point guard and not give him one of the most basic functions in an NBA offense, which is
and that's what he complained about. And that's complained about on the JJ Redick podcast. I think his exact words were, he actually, what was funny was that I think he used the word they instead of we. I could be wrong on that, but I think he did. That we're trying to do something different this year, and like he's kind of more on the sidelines, not literally, but like in the offense. And a guy like Poeltl in there basically is inviting Fred to handle the ball more. Right. So I think you're absolutely correct. I think, first of all, Fred has played well for the last month. I think part of the criticism that he got over the last week is because of Kian, because Kian posted this clip on Twitter with Fred airballing the 3 down 4. And that got a lot of people angry at Fred. But overall, you're right. I think Fred has played well for the last month. I think we should acknowledge that. And second, I think he will be better with Poeltl in there, much like everybody else.
I was about to post, if you remember the play when he tried to roll the ball up the court and he kicked it off his foot.
Yeah.
I was going to post that, and then I didn't want the same thing to happen where the only tweet that goes viral is Fred doing something, and then the comments are flooded with talking about how I'm hating on Fred and all that. So I just left it be that one. But I was very close.
Do it next time.
You can't really win sometimes, I think, when you're running the Raptors Republic socials. This is the last game before All-Star break, where we will have Pascal Siakam and Scotty Barnes both represent the Toronto Raptors in Utah. Out of all cities, guys, Utah, unfortunately, there's an All-Star weekend happening. And we won't see you guys for quite some time, at least on Wrap Up Live. So what I will do is mention to you how Manscaped is one of our here we go. I knew Zara was going to give us a grab. I got to do it, man. We're not going to see them for a week and a half, and I'm going to miss my Wrap Up family. So, guys, you know this by now. We've kind of slowed down on the Manscaped ad reads. We have done that, which is great, but I'm gonna bring it back, right? I'm not gonna do the full 2 minute thing. Zerar's putting on his hat. He's exhausted of me. No, but go to manscaped.com and check out all of their new products, including the Lawnmower 4.0, which is an incredible product. I have it. All of us have it. And no matter what you purchase, whether $10, $50 or more, you can receive free shipping, only with our show's promo code RAPUP, RAPUP, and you get 20% off free shipping all across the country in Canada. You heard us right. Use the promo code RAPUP, RAPUP, for 20% off and free shipping on your entire order for manscaped.com. Enjoy it and join 2 million men worldwide, including me, who all use the right tools for the job. I don't know if Zerar does that. Zerar, do you use the right tools for the job?
Always, man. Always.
That's what I'm talking about. All right, that's what I'm talking about. So you guys see at the bottom of the screen, 20% off, free shipping, promo code WrapUp. Yeah, we're not going to see you guys in quite a bit. So
hey, can we talk about this comment here? Can we talk? I can't talk about comment.
Good.
Are we done? Are we done with Manscaped? Hey, buy Manscaped, guys. Shave your balls. Okay.
Yeah, shave your balls. There you go.
Okay. Here, this one right here. Where to go? I just want to understand the logic here. If you really believe that Siakam and Fred VanVleet are a championship team, I guess you trade all the young players, but no, they're not good enough. You hope to find better talent to replace them. Is he saying that we should trade everybody but Fred and Siakam? Because look, what's the logic here? I'll give you a chance to explain this. Ronin Dan 1.
Yeah.
What kind of comment is this? I don't understand it. Like, maybe I should highlight it for that reason, but I'm kind of curious, like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, I'm trying my best to comprehend it. I think what he's saying is to Raptors fans. I mean, I'm assuming this isn't a Raptors fan. He's saying if you believe Siakam and Fred VanVleet are a championship duo, then trade all your young players. But no, they are not good enough to you. Hope to find better talent to replace them.
You know what? You know what this comment needs? Little help from ChatGPT.
There we go. we need a ChatGPT sponsorship. That would be great. That would be fantastic. Because then I would just write this entire script on ChatGPT. Phoenix, one of our show's greatest allies, left us a comment that said, I think he's saying, we need to highlight that again. I think he's saying, let me highlight it. Give me a sec. Someone took it off right as I was reading it.
I got it.
Oh, my bad. That was me.
Oh, that was you, Keon. Phoenix said, I think he's saying trade all of our young assets for a Kevin Durant level guy to pair with Fred and Pascal. I mean, if it were that easy, we would probably
done it.
do it.
That was on the table last summer. That was on the table last summer, and the Raptors passed because they did not want to give up Scotty Barnes. I wonder where that guy was last summer. Was he in for the Kevin Durant trade? I hope he was, because you cannot be in for the Kevin Durant trade or not in for that trade and then complain about it now. So there's a lot of revisionist history, I feel, going on here.
Yeah. Oh, okay. We've been going for 43, almost 45 minutes now. Zerar, Keon, do you guys have anything else to add? Or
well, I'm just reading these comments. They're very entertaining. Raptor fans are turning into casual DeRozan and Lowry fans, way more smarter and logical.
What?
I feel there's a comma and a period missing there somewhere, which is affecting my comprehension of this one.
Yeah, I'm starting to think I just can't read.
What else we got? It's about building good teams and being able to transition and people become available. Exactly. I think this is more the reality of the NBA is that you have to find the moment where you are able to make a move and pull it. It's kind of like Kawhi, like the Kawhi trade. It's like you had and I honestly think maybe Masai even tried doing that, because I haven't seen the Raptors so publicly acknowledge that they are participating in the trade market. Usually they're very hush-hush about it. But this trade deadline, there was no secret that the Raptors had people on the block looking to trade, looking to make moves. So it's not like the Raptors stood there and said, hey, this team is great, we're going to stick with it. They actually did look around. And then it comes down to, do you believe Masai when he says that he did not get enough value for what was out there? But I like the fact that the Raptors were actually looking, because that means that they were acknowledging the problem that they had. And the Poeltl trade, if anything, shows you that they acknowledge that what they were doing was not the right direction. So if you're a Raptor fan, I think that's got to be refreshing for you to see.
Yeah, and I think this goes back to the great debate in Raptor land about fans who are just so insistent on tank culture and wanting to tank. I think even saw it with the DeRozan Lowry iteration of the Raptors. I don't know if you remember, Zarar and Keon. I remember it when people were saying, just blow it up. I'm tired of being the 3rd seed, the 4th seed, the 2nd seed, the 1st seed, and just losing in the 2nd round or losing in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's like, wait a sec. There's a lot of NBA teams who would pray to be in the Raptors position. Yes, they are not winning a championship they were not winning a championship pre-2019, but I think you build a very good core to the point where you can go, okay, now let's try and get that superstar to elevate us to championship level. And the Raptors did that in 2019. And I don't think they're quite there yet.
No.
But you do have proven guys, right, in Fred, Pascal, who had very good runs in that championship run, who have proved, hey, like, if you get some better players around us, like, we might be able to do this, right? So the Raptors are almost doing, it's a balancing act, right? You're trying to get Scottie those developmental reps. You're trying, to still make sure Pascal's a high level guy, and you're doing so many things while trying to develop the rest of your roster. So,
Sahal, I honestly find the same people who like to tank and blow things up are the same people who, when they go down 3-0 in FIFA, want to restart the game.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. No, I'm with you. And I don't understand it. Like, we've talked about this ad nauseum, but I think tank culture is just so overrated. Like, we just played a team, Orlando, who's been tanking for how long? Right? Like, do you really want to watch a 20, 25, 30 win team for 5 years? Like, no Raptors fans trying to do that. We did that in the 2000s, and it felt like, we were all in a time warp watching the same mediocre Raptors team year after year after year, until finally they started drafting well, right? And then they finally pulled themselves out of the gutter. So yeah, well, I mean, this is the no. Go ahead, George.
Sorry, the Magic can sort of afford to do that, Sahal, because they play in Orlando, right? The weather's great. Players will come. They don't have a problem with too much losing because it's sunny, it's Florida, it's nice. You can kind of afford to run those experiments. But here in Toronto, if you go through a four-year stretch of like winning whatever 20-something, 30-something games, you're gonna that culture that we work so hard to shed is going to seep right back in, and we're gonna get labeled what we used to get labeled in the 2000s. We don't want. We want to maintain some sort of a winning culture here. So I'm all for it for the trade that we just made. So I'm so happy. Like I actually didn't watch like 4 or 5 games like
prior to that trade.
Prior to that trade, because I was like are they gonna really tank? Because I have no interest in watching this. So since the trade, I'm like I'm happy, man.
Yeah, no, of course, and yeah, I mean, people are mentioning in the comments OKC as well. Like, how many years are they away? Even with Shea, who's solidified himself as probably a top 15 player in the NBA. Houston's tanking. God knows how many years they're away, right? They barely look like an NBA team on most nights.
Yeah. And let's not forget the mother of all tank jobs, like Philly, after a decade of tanking, I want to say, is still like whatever 3rd in the conference and has underperformed in the postseason. So even if you
won a championship,
that strategy all the way, there's still like no guarantees of anything. So people who want to tank when we're 21st in the league to get the number 1 seed, and like that's gonna, I don't know, it doesn't compute.
Keon made a good point. Philadelphia hasn't even made a conference finals, as far as I remember, right? I said NBA finals. They haven't even gotten there, right? It feels like they're a second round out every year. So there's no guarantees in this league. I think every team realizes that the optimal strategy is to try and build a very good core, build a very good depth around that core, and go from there. And then just hope that you are in rumors. I mean, the fact that the Raptors were even in the Kevin Durant rumors this past summer, I think speaks to the reputation improving year by year. That wouldn't have happened 10 years ago, right? But yeah, I mean,
let's wrap it up. It's late.
Going back to what we were saying, I think, we're going to wrap it up. This was the last game before the All-Star break in Utah.
Hey, while we're here, and I know we just said wrap it up, but can we do a little non-basketball talk for like 2 seconds here and get some people's opinion on some things here? Because
we don't get to do that a lot, Zarar, so I'm glad you brought that up.
Let's give the award of the whatever the tax man is to Pirtle, obviously. Okay.
Yeah, of course. Can-Am Tax goes to Pirtle. Absolutely.
Go to canamtax.com. Great accountant. He saved me a lot of money over the years.
Yes.
I got a question for you guys. What is your current favorite TV show that you guys are watching? Like your current or have just watched one that you would recommend that we should definitely watch? Because I got one. Everybody pick one.
Please don't take mine. Okay, so I'll
I'll
go
go.
first.
I'll go first. I'll go first.
Okay,
I'll
okay, go
first.
ahead, go ahead.
I want to recommend Slow Horses on Apple TV.
Slow Horses. Okay.
Slow Horses on
Give a
Apple
quick Google
TV.
search to that.
Okay, go check it out. It's got Gary Oldman in it. He is a MI5 agent who is just, like the MI5 is done with him, and they shoved him into a basement office somewhere in some weird.
MI5 is the British CIA.
MI5
right,
is like the British CIA. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's my terrific performance by Gary Oldman. Go check it out.
97% on Rotten Tomatoes. Okay,
97%,
Zoran.
yeah.
We're talking. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna
okay,
go.
beat
I'm gonna
that.
go.
Okay,
next.
so we got Last of Us. We got a bunch of people with Last of Us.
Last of Us. Yeah, I'm
So-
seeing some Severance, which I've heard a lot of great things of on
Okay.
Twitter. I'm gonna go HBO. It's called Your Honor with Bryan Cranston.
Oh, I've seen it.
I don't know.
Seen it. Very good.
Yeah, so I just started it just around 2 weeks ago, and I'm currently in the middle of the second season, which I think just dropped recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bryan Cranston. I haven't, and a lot of people are going to go crazy about this. I haven't watched Breaking Bad, which apparently is one of the best TV shows I think of the last however long. I haven't watched that, but from this show alone, Bryan Cranston is I think he's one of the best actors breathing, far and away. Someone said Love Island, which is funny. Yeah,
All right.
Your Honor on HBO.
Kian, what you got?
Incredible.
I'm not a big TV show guy, if I'm being honest. I don't watch a lot of
His
TV.
attention span is 1 minute. That's the length of a
Exactly.
TikTok video.
Less 15 seconds.
He hasn't
15
seen a
seconds.
movie in his life. When was the last time you saw a movie? You sat down and watched a whole movie.
A couple last week. I watched The Social Network. I haven't watched it before. I watched it.
Social Network. All right. Okay. All right. Fine.
I like that. Like I watch the popular stuff on Netflix, like the Stranger Things level popular stuff, but like I won't just like have a show to binge. Like I watch some South Park if that counts.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Okay. I'm glad I got some recommendations.
There's some
Well, not really,
great recommendations in the comments, and I might have to come back to this stream a bit later. A lot of people are saying Last of Us. Yeah, I'm on Last of Us, guys. I'm caught up. Great show. It's great so far. I love post-apocalyptic shows. I mean, I loved Walking Dead when it first started. All that stuff is great. So someone in the comments, Keon said you have a TikTok attention span. That's wrong, guys. We're gonna stop now. We're gonna
Okay,
stop.
let's
I'm gonna wrap it up. Now we're really wrapping it up. It's been 53 minutes of myself, Zorar, and Keon. Recapping.
Now
this
I'm getting
wrap.
flamed.
Oh, Letterkenny is a good show. It actually the main guy on it is actually a comic for Comedy Records, which is the
Letterkenny?
Talking Rappers podcast, which used to be on Rappers Republic with Nick and Barry. So that dude is a very funny guy. Definitely check it out. I'm forgetting his name completely right now, but yeah, plus one.
Letterkenny. Before
If you like the kind of
tonight-
trailer park boys
Bro, I
type
just won't let it go.
show to the show for you.
Phoenix said it best, guys. Like, sub, comment for the algorithm. Before you leave us tonight, please subscribe to the Raptors Republic YouTube as well as our podcast channel, The Rapcast. This was the wrap up, your official Raptors Republic live post game show, where your Raptors defeated the Orlando Magic 123-113, bringing the Raptors record to 28 wins, 31 losses on the NBA season. Live show produced by everybody you see on the screen, myself, Keon, and Zorar. That was it for all of us. We'll see you all after the All-Star break in Utah, where you'll watch both Scotty Barnes and Pascal Siakam represent Toronto. We loved having you spend time with us. Enjoy the win. We'll see you all next time on Wrap Up Live.
Thursday.
Take care.